Hello, everyone. Welcome to first half results webinar. My name is Marek Tymiński. I'm founder and the CEO of CA Games. Together with me, this is David Broderick, the CFO for the group. And today is also Ryan Hill, who is the marketing director for CA Games Group. Ryan, I think that you have a lot to share. We just recently launched the marketing campaign for The Lords of the Fallen. So the mic is yours.
Great, thanks, Marek. And nice to meet everyone. So today I'm going to be talking about The Lords of the Fallen. So for context, the original game, Lords of the Fallen, launched in 2014, sold 3 million units worldwide, was downloaded by 10 million players. So it was a very successful IP. For various reasons, we've decided to position this new upcoming title as a reboot. So as you'll see from the logo here, we position this as the Lords of the Fallen. So one, it's a completely different team working on this game. Even though the original did well sales-wise, we wanted to significantly increase the production quality of this game across the board. So as part of that, the world is 5 times bigger. We've moved from high to dark fantasy. The graphic fidelity is going to be a lot more advanced this time round. And so for all of those reasons, it was fair to consider this game a reboot as opposed to a direct sequel. The other big reason for making that decision was a sequel to a game 8 years old was potentially a barrier to entry. So we felt a reboot would give us the best chance of reaching the absolute biggest audience possible. And the action RPG genre has just gone from strength to strength since the original game launched back in 2014. So since then, we've had the likes of Bloodborne, Sekiro, Elden Ring, all launch and turn the genre absolutely mainstream. So, we want to ensure that we've got the absolute best chance possible of engaging as big an audience as possible. So we finally announced the game on the 23rd of August. This was with a high-budget CGI trailer. We debuted as part of Jeff Keighley's opening night live show at Gamescom. This is one of the biggest gaming events of the year, so it drives a huge audience. You have influencers streaming the show. You've got media outlets writing about the show after. So it was a phenomenal platform for us to announce on. And we've had a significantly positive reaction to the announcement so far. So as you see from this infographic, we've got some stats that I'd like to talk you through. So the trailer so far on YouTube has achieved a combined view count of 13 million. If we look at all platforms, so this is looking at all social media platforms across the globe, we've got over 60 million views now. The like to dislike ratio is very positive, and we can estimate that the trailer has reached a total of 200 million individuals. In terms of media, we've had over 750 articles about the announcement now. And very interestingly, IGN, which is one of the world's leading video game media outlets, did a poll asking their readership to vote for their favorite next-gen Gamescom reveal. We had almost 30% of those votes, and that was from over 6,000 users. So Steam wishlist-wise, in 1 week, we had achieved 30% more wishlists than the marketing campaign achieved for the entire duration for Sniper Ghost Warrior. So that was over a 9-month campaign from announcement taken to a day before launch. So in just 1 week, we've achieved 30% more wish lists than that total. We are also already in the top 100 Steam global wishlist titles. So just before this call, we were at number 85, and we've continued to grow and move our way up that list every day so far. So what we'd like to share now is a video from an independent media outlet called Fextra Life. They're what you would call masters from, or experts in the action RPG genre. They've basically taken our trailer and put together a video compiling some information that we made public and some of their own speculative insight. So yeah, let's watch that video now, please.
Gamescom opening night live was packed with trailers, but what really grabbed us in particular was the new trailer for the dark fantasy RPG, The Lords of the Fallen, which is being developed by Hexworks, who are rebooting the 2014 title, who are under CI Games. While we didn't get any gameplay this time, we did get a few minutes of cinematic trailer, so we'll be going over what we saw in that trailer in a brief overview. The trailer kicks off with narrator actor Joseph Quinn, who is instantly recognizable if you've watched Stranger Things, and then it's blended in with some heavy metal with Mother, which is just so fitting. Firstly, it follows a knight, a dark crusader, who looks to be carrying two types of weapons, the first being a large sword to fight off the undead with your classic melee combat. The second is a glowing medieval torch, which seems to have some sort of mystical powers or some sort of tentacle strings. It seems to exercise the red glow of the undead. A potential boss fight that goes awry, leading to the main character being stabbed and then left for dead, but the glowing lantern seems to possess some sort of power that restores life to the knight. Maybe it has a limited number of lives to give. The mechanic seems to be a little unclear at this point. The trailer gives away some of the enemies players will face, including, as I said previously, a potential boss fight, which poses quite the challenge, ending with the main character falling into a pit of undead skeletons. Another enemy shown during the trailer is the three-headed flying dragon of sorts, another boss or potential mini-boss fight perhaps. So the world looks to be steeped in more of a medieval fantasy with some magical or supernatural influence, especially with that glowing lantern. The first title also used a mix of melee and magical spells with a strong Dark Souls influence. There could be the continuation of this, but new abilities by the looks of it. From the press release, developer Hexworks has revealed that in this entry of the game it takes place 1,000 years after the events of the first game, so it would be a whole new adventure to experience. The worlds are interconnecting, so there could be a variation in types of regions you could set foot in. It's set to be 5 times larger than the original game, so the scale will be much bigger than the feel of the prequel. The world also will be filled with NPC quests, characters, and also a rich story to follow. What's also interesting, as when the game was first announced, it was called Lords of the Fallen 2, but this announcement has seemed to have dropped the 2. This might be to do with concentrating on a different story slightly from the first, as the timeline is now 1,000 years later. The first title focused on Harkin, who faces the Rogar army, and Andir, who are banished to a different realm. The interconnected worlds sound like there could be more realms, more possibilities to explore, or possible threats. The video description does mention that the quest is still to overthrow Andir, who is the demon god, and the video shows their influence once again gripping the world. You'll be creating your own hero, but no details of how customized the character aesthetics will be, but in terms of progression and customization, there's a full range for your character. You can embark on a journey in the solo campaign or team up with a second player in uninterrupted online co-op, which is a brand new feature for this IP. The tactical combat sets to be fast and fluid with the use of spells and character buffs for magic. This could especially be useful in co-op, as you could help buff your partner. So far we don't know if this will be like an Elden Ring, if you can use summons to help you in battle, or purely ranged magic. Hexworks has quite the talent working on the game, as executive producer Sol Gaskin has worked on the likes of Dead by Daylight and Payday 2, so that could work in the favour of the co-op features mentioned. Then there's creative director Cesar Fatosu, who has worked on Shadow of the Tomb Raider and also Assassin's Creed Origins, which has some amazing worlds. We can't wait to see more of this game, as it looks like they're breathing fresh air into the franchise, and the world sounds like a more expansive realm with more opportunities to explore, especially with the use of Unreal Engine 5, which has some stunning graphics for next-gen consoles as well as PC. The Lords of the Fallen will be releasing on PC, PlayStation 5, and Xbox Series X and S. So far, there's no release date, but we will be getting a full gameplay for the game later this year. So what did you guys think of the trailer? What are you hoping that they're bringing to the Lords of the Fallen in this entry? Let us know in the comments below.
Thank you, Ryan. I think that's very important, and if we can stay a little bit here longer, we went from major change to the organization to CI Games over the last years, and I think last year was a great validation of us and what we have been able to achieve over the 3 releases we had, and I think the start of campaign for the Lords of the Fallen is another very strong validation of where the company is going and how capable and competent the team of the entire team of CI Games is. Just very briefly, a summary. We are already 20 years in business, video game development and publishing. We have 3 major IPs: Sniper Ghost Warrior, The Lords of the Fallen, and obviously now Project Survive. 60 million copies over the first 2 IPs sold. 5 key locations, but again, we are absolutely global and remote in terms of work. So we have people in many more locations than just those 5. At this stage, we are over 160 people internally, but at the same time, we work way over than 100 people full-time with our external partners, vendors. Investment highlights. I mean, again, outstanding financial performance. We had a record year of 2021, and obviously the first half of 2022 is a very strong financial performance, especially considering not releasing any new title over that period of time. Our strength is with our team and our unique global culture and the setting behind that. So we are absolutely working in a distributed development, and from the standpoint of producing, developing games, but also from the standpoint of business, marketing, publishing, and finance. And because of that, and not just because of that, but because of that, we have been able to recruit great, senior, very talented people, and we are absolutely able to retain and grow the business that way. Significant quality and efficiency improvement, what we demonstrated throughout the last year and what we just demonstrated again with the Lords of the Fallen marketing campaign that just started 2 weeks ago. And diversified business based on 4 pillars. It's extremely essential to CI Games, to our business, to grow the company based on multiple pillars, multiple projects that are simultaneously developed and brought to the market, as opposed to focusing on potentially just one. As of today, we are very advanced with the Lords of the Fallen production. I'll speak a bit later on that. But at the same time, we have a separate team working on the next Sniper Ghost Warrior. And we have a separate team simultaneously developing Project Survive. That team is mostly external, but we have our core team on top of that project internally as well. And the 4th pillar being United Label. Again, we have demonstrated the performance, we have demonstrated the commercial success, and up one after the other, and then again, with the last being Tales of Iron. And this is long-term strategy and an important pillar for our growth as a group. Our expertise in bigger projects is definitely in FPS and RPG, but yes, we are getting to survival genre. There's a lot of crossover from the other projects, the other genres, and the survival genre is growing very, very dynamically over the last years. and already has several significant successes. I mean, more than several significant successes in that genre. Again, the experience of the team and the team being really truly global, that is also shaping the culture of the organization. I think as of now, we can absolutely say that there's no any single country that dominates the culture of our company. So it's truly global, and I think I'm very happy to see how great people we have are cooperating together, working together in different groups, in different formats. And I absolutely think that what we have been able to achieve so far, and there's so much and such a great potential in front of us, is a lot because of the great teams that we were able to build, and the great teams that we are happy to lead further. And obviously strike strong high margin business. I think that just, a bit later, David will go through the numbers. Our margins are really high. And it means that when the game is successful, we know how to make this game making a lot of money for the business, for our studios, for our company, and then reinvest the profits to grow the company again to the next level. I think in brief, we had a very healthy, very strong margins. And again, I'll leave that for David a bit later. We have, we don't really have any debt at this moment, but we have a credit line with PKO BP, open credit line. We know PKO BP for many years. They've been financing our business in the past. If today we call it CI Games 2.0, they've been financing CI Games 1.0. So they learned and a lot of the business previously, and I think that also helped to have a better understanding between them and us and what their business needs and how basically they can support and help to grow the business. Award-winning, commercially successful portfolio, I think, been already said many times. And again, I think if you look into the users' scores, if you look into the Metacritic of lately released projects, it's very good. It's really very good. And it's massive improvement to what we had years ago, a massive improvement. And the third own IP being obviously Project Survive. We are very happy from how this project is being developing. And from the production standpoint, from the standpoint of what the game is able to offer to the audience, and how this can, and what the game has in terms of positioning and features that can make that attractive to a bigger, a larger survival audience, and how we can basically communicate with that audience and at the end of the day, release the game with a major success. I mean, that's being very sad. I think it's very clear in the video gaming space. You never know 100%, but there is a lot you can predict if you're analytical, if you're checking, if you're using, knowledge from the external partners, from the agencies. If you make surveys, we do all of that. So we know when we say we have strong franchises, we have a certain awareness, recognition. We know because it's a matter of fact. We know because we did surveys or we did other work with the external partners to know that. We will continue developing of our existing IPs and building the business over those 4 pillars. Lords of the Fallen is absolutely the largest project at this moment. I think it's the largest project the company has ever got into, and it's absolutely the largest in terms of the potential. I truly believe this can be a major success next year when the game is out. The multiplayer component will be a part of every major release from CI Games. It is important to expand the audience. It is important to expand the engagement with each given game, with each given title that we will release. And it is an important feature for us. And coming back quickly a multiplayer and a development, it's all very much connected through the engine. We use Unreal Engine 5. That's the main platform to build our projects. And I should say that before, the Lords of the Fallen, obviously it's a great, strong project with very high potential. But at the same time, it also represents the way the company operates. So there are a lot of similarities to other projects that we run between the Lords of the Fallen and other teams, and Hexworks and Underdog and Battlefield. And there's a lot of knowledge transfer. And there's also more and more synergies between the teams, between the projects, to get the efficiency up and up again. And I think, I mean, I can say that again because it's so important. The internationalized strength and organization that primarily works as a remote organization, it's our competitive advantage. It's part of our unique culture. And this is something how we want to build the business to the next level. It's a snapshot of our team. I think you have Ryan and you have David today. It's a very senior, very experienced team, different cultures. I think that, I'm really lucky, I have to say, to work with such a team. Those are the key internationally distributed, locations. I mean, we don't really run the business through the offices. We have, yes, an office in Warsaw. Some people still work in the office. A lot of people work remotely, but it's a remote structure of work across all those countries and more. And I think it's again, we go and hire people where the talent, where basically where we can find the talent. And I think that's our very, very strong. I mean, that's our basically strength and how we believe we will be growing the business and achieve more and get the company to the next level with the Lords of the Fallen and the next projects. Quick split at this moment. Hexworks, that is our internal studio developing Lords of the Fallen. This moment they are around 74 people, probably around 60, 70 extra people on top of that are working full-time with our partners. Underdog Studio, over 50 people, and Project Survive at this moment is around 30 people working on that project. And then obviously United Label. Very global organization. And it's really working very, 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 very well for us. And we keep going with that. A headcount by function, obviously, majority of our team is in development, then in finance, admin, sales, marketing, publishing. But I mean, we are development studio and a development studio, another development studio, but we are very competent. We have very strong teams across publishing. And I think when you look at what we have achieved last year, what we have achieved of our starting campaign for the Lords of the Fallen, is a proof that we are absolutely at a world-class level in terms of publishing. And this can only become more and more, it will become bigger and bigger, while our games will become bigger and bigger. And the Lords of the Fallen will have the biggest campaign CI Games has ever had. And this will be a full price marketing campaign run for that project globally. David, financial report. Mike, to you.
Thank you, Mark, for that overview. I suppose jumping straight into the performance in the first half of the year, again, strong revenue with over 30 million zloty compared to 49 last year. EBITDA equally healthy at 15.3 and a 50% margin. Again, both healthy numbers relative to the same period last year. And a net profit of 13.3, which compares to 13.5 for the same period last year. And a significantly healthier net profit margin of 43.8 versus 27.6. Still a healthy cash balance and zero debt drawn down with 17.7 million of cash, and a strong EPS of 0.07, up on the first quarter of the year already. In terms of the income statement, again, revenue totaled 30.5. The major contributor of that was Sniper Ghost Warrior Contracts 2, delivering 55% of the revenue. Nearly 80% of the revenue in total came from the Sniper franchise, with 11% coming from United Label titles as well, and the balance of about 10% coming from the back catalogue. So again, strong performance across the different levels of IP and revenue mix that we have there, and all performing strongly in the first half of the year. Gna costs amounted to 7.5 million. This was a significant increase on the same period last year, but again, that's more a function of the growth that the organization has been experiencing year on year, and some costs associated with the dual listing as well that we're pursuing. Operating profit of 11 million zloty at a 36% margin. Again, in percentage terms, similar to the same period last year, which was 35.2 on 17.3 of an operating profit. EBITDA, again, very healthy at over 50%, with 15.3 million zloty, and a net profit of 13.3, again at 43.8% net margin. So again, in a year that's quiet in terms of releases, strong performance in the first half of the year, strong performance from the existing legacy IP, and strong performance both from United Label and the back catalogue that we have. In terms of the balance sheet, total assets increased just over 10%. This is primarily a function of the fact that we're heavily investing into the development of new games. Intangible assets amounted to just over 112 million, a net increase of 31.3. This has principally been driven by the large projects that we have for Lords of the Fallen and for the next installment of the Sniper franchise. As I indicated, the group is debt-free currently. We still haven't drawn down on the debt facility that we have available to us. And again, we still have a healthy cash balance at the end of the first half of the year. Net operating cash flows total 15.5. Investment in operating activities just over 35. And again, this is all a function of the development costs going into Lords and on the Sniper franchise. In terms of financial performance, obviously consensus remains unchanged in terms of the outlook. Obviously, the major contributor and step up from 22 to 23 is analysts factoring in the contribution coming from Lords with a release in 23 slated. And again, numbers that currently we're comfortable with in terms of what's out there in the market. And we'll continue to update the market as and when we see appropriate. In terms of the roadmap, again, Lords of the Fallen, Sniper, big part of our focus, including also the Survive game. United Label, strong, healthy pipeline in terms of titles. We see that, something that will produce 2 to 4 titles, depending on the game budgets every year going forward. The third owned IP, obviously, the Survive genre is one that we're developing. And on a strategic level, our focus continues to be around pursuing the dual listing, which we would hope to conclude before the end of this calendar year. The remainder is kind of just general appendices. I think at this point, if we kind of want to open up to Q&A, I've seen some kind of early questions already kind of pop into the forum. I suppose just take the first one. And Marek, you probably maybe want to kind of take this. In terms of our strategy, how you're feeling about that at the moment, and the outlook for 22 and beyond.
I think it's important to say again, we have currently 3 major projects in the development, and then obviously United Label has several other projects, and will be most likely signing more projects soon. And those projects are being developed simultaneously by different teams with certain synergy, with using the same technology and crossover a number of fields. the sequel to Lords of the Fallen, basically the reboot, is a major release, and we already see a lot of great potential in front of that game. It's in advanced stage of production, and this is very important to, and it will be a major milestone for us, I believe, to get to basically the next level as an organization. Sniper Ghost Warrior Next is being at the works as well. Underdog Studio is behind that. We made major upgrades, brought some really senior people to that team. So again, this is a project that we absolutely want to expand the audience with. And then going back to Project Survive, absolutely happy from the progress. Very strong team, also very experienced team behind that. On the side of Battlefield, on the side of CI Games, we're looking forward to share with investors a bit more on that as soon as we're ready to share. And going forward, obviously, CI Games wants to launch a new major game every 12, 18 months. That's a very important roadmap. It's very important for the investors to have a bit more frequency in terms of releasing new major projects from CI Games. And I think you can clearly see that through the 4-pillar strategy and how we see the business going. And at some point, we may add the 5th pillar. I think that's essential to growing, to growing the business and being more and more attractive from the investment standpoint. And then I think, as you have seen throughout first half 2022, the back catalog is performing really well. And that's another very important aspect and support for growing the business forward.
Okay. There's some questions just looking for kind of some more detail about how we see the release schedule. We've obviously had the first promotion of Lords, and how you see that kind of developing for the various titles and pillars that we're pursuing.
I mean, we already announced that the Lords of the Fallen plan to release the game in 2023. So we already said that we would be presenting the gameplay for the first time still later this year. So there is a lot more to come from, the marketing campaign just started. There's a lot more information, and we'll be providing those information while we announcing more and sharing more information with the communities around the world. I think we have, a successful track record of releasing games such as Sniper Ghost Warrior and delivering bigger sales with Contracts 2 than Contracts 1. And I think we will take some of that and use that for the next Sniper Ghost Warrior game. And as I said before, we also said that very publicly several times, we absolutely want to appeal to a bigger audience, and it's in the works. And then coming back to Project Survive, we think that it's sooner than later we'll share some more information about the game with communities and then at the same time with investors, but absolutely it's too early for us to commit to any date.
Just another question. How are you feeling about demand for games in general and game sales as we kind of move forward, and where some people feel that there's a tougher economic climate out there?
I think that the industry has been doing well over and over again through the harder times, through potential recessions in the past. And I think that premium games, if affected, will be affected definitely less than some other business models in that space. But I'm still staying optimistic for the industry to move on and grow further throughout the next years. And then again, you go back and you look into certain specific genres, and Survive is a great example of a genre that grew exponentially over the last years. I think with the Lords of the Fallen, what we started to demonstrate, there's a lot of appetite, and that, as Ryan said previously, that sort of action RPG Souls-like genre becoming really big. And if you look at Elden Ring, and I'm not absolutely suggesting we will sell similar amount of copies to Elden Ring, but this is a great example. They sold 16-17 million copies already releasing the game in, I think, March this year. And Elden Ring, which is action RPG Souls-like game, that was one of the best, if not the best-selling game of first half. So I think one thing is the industry and how much the potential recession can impact that. But the other thing is how we select the genres, how we select the projects, how we build them, how we market them in order to really achieve a larger and larger successes from project to project.
Obviously, there's a question here that says, you've attempted previously within CI to create some AAA entry into the AAA space. How do you feel that you're executing differently on that this time?
I think it's a great question. We were attempting to get to AAA space, said that publicly with Sniper Ghost Warrior 3, which didn't work as we expected. I mean, still sold several million of copies, but not as we expected, not as market expected. But then going back to Lords of the Fallen that we released 2014, that game was perceived AAA. That game was sold at full price. That game was very healthy investment from the return standpoint to CI games. And yes, that game was partially or bigger, more than partially developed externally, but Lords of the Fallen was run from the creative standpoint and a lot from the production standpoint as well by internal team over CI games. And with Lords of the Fallen, that came from 2014, we also work with significantly work with several outsourcing companies to help to produce the game. So there has been a lot of substance in creating and developing that game that came from the internal part. It was a venture with Deck 13 at the time, and we did well all together. I think we delivered a product that got good reception and did well to us. The difference now is the company has changed greatly over the last 3-4 years. It's so much more senior, so much more experienced team, and it's so much more diversified team from the standpoint of cultures and experiences, and it's so much stronger from the structure standpoint, from the processes standpoint. We're much more professional. That, to be fair, it's very hard to compare because it was completely different team in 2017 than the team that we have right now for the last 2-3 years. And that's a major difference. And I think that's the major difference to what investors can expect from us to deliver in the next years, starting with the Lords of the Fallen release next year.
There are a few questions here just about the dual listing, which I'm happy to take, and just our view on that. Yeah, I mean, from CI Games' perspective, we believe the dual listing process is attractive. We firmly believe that it's in the best interests of the company and our stakeholders. And I think what's really important is that, we are a global business. We distribute our product globally. Our teams are globally dispersed. We are truly an international business. And that is the nature of CI Games today. And, if I look at the dual listing, I think it would support our continued internalization of the company. It will help the internalization of the company's shareholder base. And, I think with the foundations and the pillars that we're putting in place, we firmly believe that it will provide access to future capital as needed, as we look to capitalize on opportunities as and when they present them to us. It's also important as we evolve and we develop that, you know, that it heightens the visibility of CI Games brand. It will build on our success to date, and it will definitely support our plans for the future. You know, and again, whilst we could have considered a full relisting of the company, you know, we respect equally a large part that we've had some very loyal, very long-standing shareholders. And, you know, a dual listing respects the interests of our existing shareholders, as well as opening up to a much wider audience as our story starts to develop and as our brand, you know, really becomes international, and as does our operations, and as is our ambition in terms of reaching consumers on a global basis. Just another question here, obviously another one, Marek, about talent, how we're feeling about that competitive market, what we're seeing, any views or insights you can maybe share?
Absolutely. I think that, you know, obviously there's a lot of interest, and it's really hot. The industry is hot, absolutely. And I think our structure allows to be really competitive in terms of hiring. And that comes with the structure, with the culture, but also comes with very attractive projects. I think if you look from the standpoint that we don't have to be really, we don't really have to be tied to any given location. Even you want to bring somebody from abroad, more and more people just don't want to move. I think the model we are offering is great and is absolutely helping us to recruit and retain that sort of a high caliber talent. And I think what we have demonstrated again, I mean, it can be more efficient than working from one location. And obviously you hear people saying different things. Some people say, yeah, I mean, it's better to work everybody in one location. Some other people say, no, it's better to work remote. I think it depends on the structure, depends on the seniority. I think if you don't really have a senior team, probably this is more of a challenge. But we do have senior teams and it works really great. And I mean, I think, again, this is our advantage and part of what we use to really build the company to that level and how we want to grow the business further. So I'm very positive on further recruiting best people and retaining those people within our organization.
A kind of a related question that's kind of popped up here. How do you see your role and involvement in CI Games over the next while and into the future?
I mean, I think that it's I'm happy to say that again. I think that it's been a great ride for the last 3-4 years since we really started to turn around the organization, and I mean the results are great, and this is not. I mean, this is just a milestone. Last year was just a milestone, and we are just demonstrating how well we can push everything forward. So I've been enjoying that ride. Yes, there is a lot of work, and I think I mean, David and Ryan, and a lot of people. I mean, we work a lot, but I think there is a lot of. I mean, it's really a lot to enjoy. So I'm absolutely looking forward to grow the business, grow the company further in the next years. And staying absolutely active as the CEO of the business, and staying absolutely active and working sometimes too much with great people around. And some of the people around, I mean, and you heard that many times, guys. I love to work with a lot of guys, and makes me happy. So I can work hard when I see that there is a lot of great things being produced out of that, and we're making a lot of progress. Enjoy.
Just a couple of questions here relating to United Label. People just kind of interested in the the strategy, interested in how you see that evolving and developing as a pillar in the business.
Again, United Label being important pillar to our business, there's not much we can say. Lots of conversation happening with different developers. We are absolutely less means more, very selective in terms of the product portfolio. Those conversations are really confidential. Obviously, we can't share much, but as soon as we sign more projects, we'll be announcing that. I think, what we can absolutely say is that there is more and more recognition of United Label as an indie publishing house where developers want to go, and they want United Label to represent their title versus other publishing houses because of different things, but also what they have seen. We provided the first couple of games we released, and as well that we have that a bigger muscle of CA games. It's not just an indie publisher out there, but it's a CA games behind that, helping as a team to team.
Yeah. Just another question here, which I'm happy to take. Obviously, with the likes of Ubisoft and others, the people are questioning that there's a lot of consolidation in the industry. Strategic investments and similar taking place, and what our view is on that. Again, I think that question is correct. We've seen a lot of consolidation in the industry. We've seen a lot of strategic chips being placed by Sony and Microsoft and others, and Tencent across that piece. As of this point, we have obviously previously explored strategic investment as an opportunity for the company. As a group, we haven't received any formal offers or approaches for the company, but it would be something that I think, if it arose, we would have to consider and work in the best interests of, I suppose, our shareholders and our stakeholders. And I think we would have to be very considerate as to the type of partner that we allied ourselves to. That somebody who had a strong standing in the industry, has size, scale, and depth in terms of what they can do, really to kind of support our ambition, and where we see the brand going, where we see the IP going, and I think that's a lot of how we would kind of, I suppose, view that kind of situation. That a strong industry player of size, of scale, with the footprint to match our ambitions, would be something that if it ever arose, I think we would have to look at and potentially consider. But as of the moment, there's nothing on the table in that regard.
I think you're muted, David.
Through any other questions that are popping up here. The moment, I can't see any others. Marek, I don't know if you're looking down the list, if you see anything.
No, I would like to get back a bit to that strategic investor. I mean, as you said, David, there's nothing really formal out there, but I mean, just to explain, not everybody has to really understand the processes that processes are running. But I think that I mean, it just as when we started the strategic option review last year, obviously we have spoken to several largest strategic investors, and some of the conversations have been continued, right? So the industry is not that big. Those who don't know, I mean, the industry is not that big, so we speak to a lot of people. So nothing yet formally, absolutely, but if there is anything, like you, David, said, we would be probably looking to form and expand on that.
So there's not, like I said, Marek, if you want to have one last review of any of the questions there, but there's nothing I can see that we haven't kind of covered.
think we're good. David. There's nothing I see. All right. Thank you very much, everyone, for attending our webinar. Look forward to seeing you after the Q3 results later this year. And I hope you will stay with the next things the company will provide on the Lords of the Fallen and other projects. I think there's a lot to come. There's exciting times ahead of us. Thank you.
Thanks.